Good morning, ndugu yangu. Good morning.
Good morning, Ivan.
Yes.
Asante sana, nashukuru pia nami kutembea hapa. Kiswahili chako jameni. Jina langu ni Gideon Makumi, Special Programs Coordinator, Human Resource and Administrator, Bethel Network. Na tuko excited kufika hapa kujadili hili swala la Boychild. Kwa sababu it's a matter that is really dear to our heart at Bethel Network. Asante.
Okay, thank you. Pia ningetaka uweze kuwasabahi wale ambao wanatutazama kutoka pembe zetu, taifa letu la Kenya, mahali popote, wakaribishe ndani ya mazungumzo yetu siku ya leo.
Asante, ningependa kuwasabahi wa Kenya wote ambao wanatazama ama mtu yote popote anapotazama. Tunafurahi kuwa hapa leo, tunatumai tutakuwa na wakati mwema pamoja. Asante.
Okay, now nataka sasa niwashukuru wote kwa ujumla sababu ya kutenga muda wenu kututembelea. Hasa ikiwa ni juma ambalo nilifeel ya kwamba sitalifungia macho wakati dunia inaadhimisha siku ya Father's Day. Na nilikuwa na lawama hapa hivi, ingawaje niliweza kupata baadhi ya watu wengine wakituma SMS wakisema kwamba tunafaa kujua kwamba it is the responsibility of all fathers, despite ni siku yao, hata kama ni siku yao waigalamikie. Nikajiuliza wakati tunaadhimisha siku za kina Women's Day, Mother's Day, Girl Child Days, Women Fights on all those days that had been set by the different organizations across the country. So kwa hivyo nilikuwa nataka tuzungumzie swala hili la, tuanzie na juma ambalo linapita tulikuwa tunaadhimisha siku ya Father's Day, na at the same time tulikuwa tunaadhimisha siku ya mtoto wa Mwafrika. Na ukiangalia kauli mbiu mwaka huu ilikuwa ni wewe nyinyi wazazi ama sisi wazazi. Sijui kama Kibuga ni mzazi. Hatutaki kuingilia. Tunalea vijana ambao watakuwa viongozi wa kesho. Tunalea vijana ambao mtoto kiume ambao atakuwa father ama baba ya mtu katika society, ambaye atakuwa na majukumu ya kuwafikia mahitaji ya jamii. So kwa hivyo hiyo ndio juma tulikuwa tunaadhimisha iliyopita. Na pia kulikuwa na siku pia hii wiki tulikuwa tunaadhimisha siku ya wajane, now on both sides. Singetaka tuweze kubagua tena tuseme kwamba tutaangalia tu waume. Pia hii wiki dunia ilikuwa inaadhimisha siku ya wajane kote duniani. So kwa hivyo ningetaka tuanzie pale kwa Kibuga tuweze kujiuliza, are we raising vijana ambao wanakuja kutegemewa kesho?
For some time now, I think the boy child has been neglected. It's been a cry. The voice of the boy child is not being heard over time. Most of the programs that we find geared toward the children mainly focus on the girls. And that's why we've found a gap, and that's why we have this challenge that when it comes to marriage, girls are complaining there are no boys or there are no men to marry them. So I think it's a challenge that has been there over time, and no one has probably kept a blind eye to the issue. So this time, as an organization, we said we have a program called the Always Keeping Girls in School, where we started with the girls alone. And what we used to do is to go talk to the girls, talk to them about menstrual hygiene management and life skill issues. But the challenge we found is that boys were asking, what is this you're talking to the girls about and not talking to us still about? Puberty is happening to both boys and girls. Remembering that probably the girls are the ones who had the challenge because they probably of the issues surrounding their menses. But we realized that the boys also are facing challenges at this particular period of their puberty. And we realized when we talk to the girls and leave the boys alone, we were shooting ourselves in the foot, because the boys will come and harass the girls, wanting to find out what have they been left with and what is this talk all about. And through our research we did, we realized that the boys were hurting. They didn't have safe spaces to express themselves. And that's why we decided we integrate the boys in the program. And when we did that, we were so shocked that the boys now started becoming appreciative of what the girls were going through. And we said this is a good thing, that we're incorporating the boys in our system and in our way of doing things. And with that, we realized the boy is really needed to further the education of the girls as well, and to build a better society that is coming up. So the boys, I can say, they've been neglected. So many, there's a big outcry out there. Yeah.
Gideon, earlier on tulikuwa tunasema ya kwamba kijana ndiye kiungo wa jamii kutoka mababu zetu. What happened along the way, ama mvua ilianza kutuonyeshea wapi? Ilianzia wapi kutupiga?
Nafikiri hili swala la kijana amewachwa wakati society ilifocus zaidi kwa msichana, na hakuna shida ya kufocus na msichana, lakini ifai kuwe at the expense ya kijana, kwa sababu unapata ya kwamba organizations out there, na Robert amesema hata sisi tulianza na swala la msichana, lakini with time ikakuwa sasa yule ambaye alikuwa empowered, the processes za kuempower msichana zimekuja sasa somehow zina disempower kijana. Na sababu ni ipi? Kwa sababu huyu msichana ni kweli alikuwa ameachwa, lakini ikafikia mahali naye wakati tunakuja kumpa uwezo, naye kijana akasahaulika. So nafikiri hapo ndipo shida ya yule kijana ilianzia, na hapo ndipo tuliweza kumwacha, kwa sababu tunaona ukiangalia socialization right from the time boy is growing, there is a way ako expected kukuwa independent in a way that ana behave. Unasikia kuna hizi statements, na sisi wote ni boy child. Kuna statement tuligrow tukiambiwa na wazazi wetu, wewe kama kijana ufai kufanya jambo fulani. So hata kijana hawezi ji-express, hawezi fanya nini, kwa sababu ana grow akijua I'm not supposed to be weak. And therefore as time goes, naye msichana upande huu mwingine anaambiwa kama mama, ukiwa na shida yote unakuja unaniambia. So hapo ndipo gap inaenda inakuwa by the time tuna grow tukiwa one, hatuwezi ji-express as boys. Number 2, hatuwezi come out na tusemee kila nina feel ni hiki, kwa sababu nimegrow nikijua mimi ni kijana, somehow I'm supposed to maneuver through life without necessarily any kind of support yenye our counterparts the girls wanapata. So nafikiri hapo ndipo shida inaanzia right from the socialization, and also the efforts that have been put in place, they are more focusing on the girl child and leaving out the boy child. Yeah.
Now to that point I want to pose a question, na mtakuja kunijibu hili swali tukimalizia. Na pia kwa mtazamaji ambaye anatutazama, ningetaka uweze kuniachia jibu lako kwa Ivan Kibe page, niachie jimbo lako pale, alafu nitakuwa napeperusha jumbe zenu asubuhi ama tukimalizia. And my question is Gideon, let's assume that you are the director, na at the same time my good friend here na Mkenya ambaye anatutazama pale, and you have an opportunity ya kuajili mtu mmoja kazi pekee, and then you need a qualified specialist, na you have 2 applicants. You have a mama kuna watoto wawili but mjane, na at the same time wapili ambaye ametuma ni mzee kuna watoto wawili, naye pia hana mke. So watu wawili wako na watoto wawili. I wish you wakikuja pale they have all qualification criteria zote wamemeet. According to you tapatia nani kazi. So kwa hivyo hiyo ni swali nataka mnijibu tukimalizia, na ukikuja kujibu hilo swali don't explain why, you just tell us itakuwa remember the criteria, watu wawili wamehitimu. Kama ulikuwa unataka shahada, watu wawili wameekelea the same level, masomo the same level, high school the same level, alisoma ya kiwango kimoja. But sasa the problem ni kwamba wako na mahitaji, wanahitaji kazi, watu wako na watoto wawili, na the only problem ni kwamba moja ni kiume, moja ni msichana. So kwa hivyo tujele mengi zaidi. Now we go back to the Father's Day. Kibuga, as a father, how was you celebrated?
Yeah, mine at least this year it will be a memorable Father's Day for me. It was very deliberate. I had just come from a safari from Rusinga, actually just from celebrating the African Day of the Day of the African Child. I did mine in Narok and Rusinga, where I gave boxes to boys in both counties. And this one I was very deliberate. I decided to take my family out to Kajiado. Yeah, just to...
As a father?
As a father.
I think hukupata swali langu nimeuliza, wewe mwenyewe siku ya Father's Day ulikuwa celebrated kivipi na your wife na watoto wako?
Nilicelebratiwa kwa njia hii.
Yes.
Walikatiza mipango yao yote. Just kukua pamoja na mimi. That for me is a special thing. Just to be around me in whatever I'm doing. Kwa sababu niliwaambia I want to go to Kajiado, who wants to accompany me. Waote waliwacha kazi zao zote and we had a very good day. I spent with them almost 4-5 hours in Kajiado and it was very memorable. Actually walikuwa nauliza siku imekuwa fupi, we are very happy to be around you because tulizungumza. It's the same day nilienda kuonyesha mahali najenga nyumba yangu na walipatia mawaidha tujenge namna hii, and that for me I felt I incorporated them in my project, so it was for me it was a celebration as well. So yeah,
so kwako ulicelebratiwa lakini uligharimu, ulilipa gharama?
Nilipa gharama.
So are you sure you were celebrated?
Yes.
Na ni wewe ulilipa bill? Okay.
Yeah.
Gideon sasa kuuliza kama ulikuwa celebrated, but nitauliza tu.
Yes.
Was your family aware kwamba kuna hiyo siku ni Father's Day, ama walistukia tu watu wanasema happy Father's Day? Are they aware before?
Yes, they were aware. And for the purposes of even the conversation we're having today, I'm a father of 2, 7-year-old and almost 2 years. So yes, they were aware. And nilijipata kwa status. And I saw this morning someone akiuliza mnafanyanga nini mweka kwa status. So my answer is, I think kukuwa baba ilifanya nikaekwa kwa status. But the thing is, they were aware and they appreciated the efforts. And for me, nasemanga even that besides everything that I do out here, the best legacy I can ever leave is being a good father. And everything that I do will become meaningless if at all my daughter and my son will feel that I was not there for them. So as a father, I think that is a day that was really, really important to my family, like you asked about the family. Na ni siku ambayo ina mean so much to me because it only makes me think, sit, reflect back na najiuliza, have I been a good father? Should I be celebrated today? Like Ibuga is saying, ali-celebratiwa hivi na hivi. Mimi niujiuliza, hii siku juu imefika, would these children that I'm raising asimama mbele ya watu na waseme, tuko na daddy. Kama hawezi sema hivyo confidently, then whatever else I'm doing out here in the world is useless. Being a father is the best gift that I've ever gotten.
Being a father?
Yes.
So I just want to come back to Kibuga.
Yes, sir.
Or still I start to you. What about, there are those fathers ambao walihusika kwa kuleta kiumbe duniani. They just participated kwa mtoto kupatikana. But from that wakapotea na wakahama. In as much walihusika, meaning that they are their father. Now, can we celebrate them?
I'll try and put this in the softest way I can. But I'm not sure whether they are worth the title of father. But rather, a donor. Sitaeleza ni donor wa nini, everyone would imagine. But if you can sire a child and not take care of them, I don't think you should confidently stand and call yourself a man in the first place. Because fatherhood is a responsibility. It's not just about being a father. You go beyond and become a dad. Because why on earth would you sire a child and not even care what they feed on, how they live, where they even live, who takes care of? I mean, as a father, we have 3 primary responsibilities. The first one is kuprotect. Hiyo protection inafaa itoke kwako kama baba. Tunaziitanga LPP. You provide leadership, you provide and you protect. if you don't do those 3 things to your children, man, usijiite baba na usijiite hata mwanaume, because why I know circumstances out there drive people to the limits, but I think even as circumstances are getting worse, I don't think any man should be excused for being an absentee father. For me, and it's my personal belief, but I don't think you should be excused for being absent, and therefore you shouldn't be celebrated. Yeah.
Robert, let me not tend to think that you are aware or you are celebrated because you work with an organization that champions for the right of their boy child. What about others like Brian, kina Ian? What they aware about siku ya sana ilikuwa siku ya Father's Day?
For me, it all depends with the relationship you have with your family. Because I believe fatherhood starts from the time that boy or girl is born. And it's the process of bringing up this child from the time they are born to the time they are getting to marriage. Because I believe even children in universities and high schools, they are still under our arms. They're still our children. So as a father, it is the process of nurturing in good times and in bad times. And that's where they pick up the lessons. When daddy didn't have money, how did he behave? What strategies did they use to get us protected and covered, as my colleague Makomi is saying? Because fatherhood is all about leadership and protection. In certain circumstances, how did our father train us or show us the way? So fatherhood is a big responsibility to all of us. Yeah, it's that journey you take with your children. If you have girls, how do you behave towards them? Or how do you behave towards their mother when there are ups and downs? So fatherhood is a big landscape. It's how you nurture these children in all circumstances of life. And that's what I believe. These children will come to say, we have a dad, as Makomi is saying. We have a daddy. Because they've grown with you, they've seen life in different aspects, and that's why they come to appreciate you as a dad. For me, celebration is not about gifts or what. It's being called daddy because they value that name. Daddy, my dad told me, by the time you're being called daddy, someone has really reflected and known that they can rely on you in terms of protection and in terms of leadership. So for me, those 2 things are very paramount for me. Yeah, so.
Okay, as you said that kazi ama majukumu makuu ya dadi ni kulea na kuelekeza na pia kunacha, but literally in our current age, this generation, ni nani anafanya hiyo kazi?
Unfortunately, it's the women who are taking the lead. It's because of the gap, as we started and we said, too much focus was put on the girl child. And when that happened, we didn't have mentors for the boys. The boys were left alone, and they had nowhere to run to in terms of getting the right leadership, to be trained in terms of taking care of their responsibilities as men and as boys. Remember, men become fast boys, and once you don't nurture the boy at his right age, he'll not be a proper or a nurtured man. So that's why we have the gap, and that's where the men take the leadership. By nature, who takes care of the children? Both animals and human beings. It's the female. It is a female species. It is a female species. But remember, in terms of leadership and protection, it comes from the man. So, yeah, that's where we get the gap.
Yeah, to answer that, I think even tukiangalia out there, even wacha tuanze na basic things like shule. Akina nani attend meetings za watu hii? Your mother. You know, ile barua ikikuja ama ile ikiandikwa kwa diary kuna parents meeting. I think the first thing yenye tunafanya kama wanaume ni umeona diary? Kuna mkutano. I mean, I happen to be a board member in one of the high schools, Dandora Secondary. And I realized that 90%, over 90% of those who come, it's the women. And we keep asking ourselves, where are the fathers? But when I realize, saa zingine, hata not just women, not even the mothers. It's even the wanatuma sister mkubwa, nani mkubwa. So even when you're discussing development issues za huyu mwanafunzi, the father doesn't know. In fact, I was surprised one time when one of the fathers was asking mwanafunzi, by the way unakuanga form, they don't even know ile class mtoto wake yuko, kwa sababu yeye kazi yake ama kile amejiambia ndio kazi yake ni kulipa fees, kununua uniform, kununua vitabu. Hiyo ingine ni mama. Ndacho utasikia hata kwa nyumba mtoto anaambiwa, utasikia baba akisema huyu kijana wako ama huyu msichana wako, as in they dissociate from the responsibility of even discipline ya mtoto. It has been left to the woman, and that's where we go wrong as fathers, because as long as you don't participate in the conversation of change in the life of your child, then they'll fail. And why would they fail? It's because as fathers, I said, one of the responsibilities we have is providing leadership. So that leadership begins from home, from the very basic things. Kuprovide si leadership, by the way. Na kuweza kuwapea food, nini. As long as you don't know what is happening in your child's life, then you are absent. Unaweza ukakuwa uko hapo na wao. Unaweza ukakuwa every day, you come back home, you do everything that pertains to provision. But as long as you don't know the major things happening in your child's life, you've left it to your wife or the woman raising them, then you failed as a father. I believe it is involvement 100%. Do you even know when your child is going through something? Do you understand them when, are you able to even read, leo huyu my son or my daughter, hayuko in the best of the moods? Would you even ask what is happening as a father? Shida ni, ukipata mtoto amechange, ni nini huyu umemfanya? You know, you're asking your wife that. I mean, and you cannot make an impact kwa life ya huyo mtoto kama hujakuwa intentional. The word is intentional. If you're not intentional about being there for them, then you wouldn't be able to make so much difference or even impact in their growth and development. Yeah.
Kuna hisia Kibuga aliweza kuibua kuhusu the gap that has been left. And my question begs that huyu mzee akienda kule kwa government anavurugwa, akienda kwa society inamvuruga, akienda kazini kama mtakuja kunipatia majibu yenu opportunity they are very limit kwa wanaume siku hizi. Akifika kwa nyumba bibi naye anamgoja mvuruge. Where do you think that this father should get solace? Kibuga.
I think it's high time as a society we create and accept that men also need a safe space. Yeah.
First of all, do they have those spaces?
That's what I'm saying. It's high time the society, and especially the men's society, start creating the safe spaces for the men to have a shoulder to lean on. There are so many challenges facing the man from all levels. From primary school, I can tell you there are challenges. At a secondary school level, there are challenges the boys are facing. And even at universities and colleges, these men still are facing challenges. So it's at all levels we need to create spaces where men can express themselves in terms of what are the issues they are going through. So because I was just discussing with some of my colleagues last week, and we realized a majority of the CEOs in this nation are men. A majority of them are men.
Repeat that one.
A majority of CEOs in this nation are men. That says or shows that they've been successful. So it is them, it is these successful men that we deem to have been successful to create opportunities and spaces for other men to join them or pull them up to where they are, so that we can have an equal or space for both the women and the men in this society. So I believe we need to create those opportunities across the board, whether it's in high schools, primary schools, and all that. If there are programs geared towards elevating the life of the girl in the primary schools, or programs geared towards enhancing their lives in their primary schools, we also need to have equal opportunities for the boy-child programs. Same in high schools and the like in the universities, because the boys are being neglected at all levels. And when that happens, of course, eventually we'll end up with an unbalanced man or an unbalanced boy at the time when it comes to either go to work or try to find himself work or marry, he'll not be equal to the standards of the same age of the girl that he wants to marry. Then you'll find we have issues. Girls will complain, we don't have men to marry us. This came across me when I was discussing with one of the managers at Daily Fontatleaf. And he told us, just recently they had interviews. And they had two people, the smallest, mirroring the question we asked us. They had a young man and a young lady, all qualified. But the only unfortunate thing is that this young man was unable to express himself. They're able to express themselves on paper, but when it comes to talking and saying what is in them, he was unable.
Mental
not necessarily. Probably they don't know how to.
Yes.
They don't know how to. They don't know what is in them. They are not aware of themselves. They are not assertive of their positions of where or their rights. Probably some of them even are not aware of their rights as young men. So it's high time we create policies that will push up the opportunities for the young boys in this nation. So, yeah.
Okay, then now you are bringing the issues of legislation, and we have our members of parliament. And I was looking, maybe the comparison of the elderly members of parliament and young parliamentarians, and find that 80% ya wabunge ambao wako katika bunge la ambalo linaenda nyumbani, of the 12th parliament, kwamba over 80% ni vijana wako below 45 years, 40, 30, 35, 37, 36 pale. But now the question begs, what have they done? Maybe kwa vijana wao wengine ambao wako kule nje. Kwa the rise and fall of Boychild. Now, as we're talking about the fathering, there is a confirmed report that most boys, hata wakifikisha ule umri wa kuoa, hawaoi. Sijui kama maybe in your finding you have come across such.
Yeah.
You can confirm to that.
Yeah, I think they're there. I have a number of friends who we joke about even the marriage issue. Keep on telling them, hey manze, tukutafutie. For different reasons. Different people have different reasons. But the common reason out here today is the confidence levels. Robert talked about the way you're empowering the girl and the boy, amebaki. It even affects their self-esteem. Because whereas the girl has been empowered so much, they know themselves, they know who they are, they know how to handle relationships. The young men out here, in the first place, even approaching a girl, kumwambia yeye ni aje, kuna venye nakulike, hiyo ni shida. Because yu kijana hajakupata that exposure. Babake hakumkalisha chini akamwambia ni aje kijana wangu, hivi ndio kunaendanga. And why? Why is it so? Because the father was away in the name of fending for the family.
Maybe do you feel that it is comfortable for a father kuambia kijana sasa wakati huu ni uweze kuwinda? Is it comfortable situation?
In a normal circumstance, that should be the ideal. The most ideal person to talk to you about even starting relationship should be your father, if they are there. And I remember before my dad passed on, he would ask me, akiniona na msichana, sasa ni huyu? Aya, huyu naye ni nani? You know, because...
So you had several?
No, like maybe we'll be home, we're coming from school, and I have these friends who are female. So, and my mzee was very strict in terms of, he wanted to really know what is happening. He's the kind that mkimaliza exam leo kesho anaitisha report form, you know. So we didn't have a choice but to really work hard and ensure that you are doing your things straight. So he would ask me. And at the point when sasa nilimwambia dad, I think ni huyu, he would question. And it is a father's conversation, I believe, for those who are privileged to have their fathers, because ni wewe ndio unaonyesha huyu kijana njia. Na usipomuonyesha, trust me, atalearn somehow. But the question is, atalearn kutoka wapi? For instance, the question you've asked about the leadership. Are the young people even in parliament?
Mwelekezi wangu ananiambia kwanza tuchukue break fupi, tutarejea na hilo.
Okay.
Na tukikuja tutakuwa tunajaribu kujiuliza this rise and fall of Boychild ilianzia wapi? tutachukulia kutoka pale. Kwa hivyo kumbuka, hii ni GBS TV Jumatatu. Mimi naitwa Ivan Kibe na nataka niseme asante kwa wote ambao wanatazama kutoka sehemu tofauti kote nchini. Kumbuka sasa nikirejea hatakuwa nasoma SMS zako 2-3 hivi kwa watu ambao wametuma SMS, alafu tutasonga mbele. Kumbuka swali langu ni kuwa nimeuliza iwapo kuna wawili wanatafuta kazi, mwanamume na mwanamke, wote wawili wamequalify, wote wako na shahada hitajika. The only problem ni kwamba the only different kwamba the gender issue, moja ni mwanamume, moja ni mwanamke, wote wako na watoto wawili. Whom would you as a CEO offer that opportunity? Kwa hivyo naitwa Ivan Kibe na lijana mengi zaidi.
Everywhere, GBS.
Karibu tena mtazamaji wangu wa GBS TV mahali popote ulipo. Tunazidi kusukuma gurudumu hili la GBS TV Jumatatu. Karibuni tena, na tulikuwa tumekomea kwa Gideon. Nilikuwa nimeuliza the rise and fall of Boychild. Hivi sasa huyu Boychild ameanguka kiwango ambapo hawezi akamka hadi asukumwe, ama amefika wapi?
I would say ameanguka kiasi cha beyond recovery. Reality is there's hope, and hope comes with efforts kama zile ambazo Kibuga ametaja za the empowerment. There's need for empowerment and mentorship for the boy child, because there's that desire, even out there in the schools, out there in the community. The boys are asking hard questions. People are asking, what can I do to become this? So I think like Robert challenged us about the CEOs and everything. Let's go out there and mentor them. Let's mentor that boy, because The good thing with us men, we pick these things. And I would say, without shying off, that where I am today, I think I'm a product of mentorship. Someone back in high school, back in 2008, decided to work with me throughout. And up to date, they've been there for me. And I I truly appreciate my mentor, Joe Mwangi. Because I would say, if I wasn't mentored, probably I would be somewhere in the ghetto, Korogosho to be exact. Either nikinywa pombe, nikivuta bangi or something. But someone saw the potential in me and they decided to work with me. And I believe now, as young people, as the other men who are out here, Ivan, Roba, and the rest of the men out there who are doing something, you can go back and hold someone's hand and show them the way. Because it's not too much. You only need to be told that you can make it and show the way how you can do it. And the whole essence about mentorship is not necessarily telling someone entirely what they need to do, but just encouraging them to continue with reinforcing the positive that they are doing and encouraging them to keep doing good for them to excel. So if we can all take it as a challenge and know that that boy out there in primary requires someone to show them the way, that young man in high school requires someone to tell them that beyond the grades, you can also do this. You have this potential. That reinforcement and that mentorship becomes very, very important to help us rise again, because all hope is not lost because we out here. So ni sisi tukumbuke pale nyuma kuna watu wenye wanahitaji hiyo motivation, and then we support our own boy child. Kwa sababu shida ni ukiangalia the ladies wao wanakuanga na chama. It is in those chamas they go and discuss their worries. It is in those chamas they go even discuss their husband. Mi baba nani jana, you know. But for us men, tukikutana tuna discuss politics. Ni Azimio, ni UDA, you know, we hardly have time. Na ndio Roba amesema, it's time we create safe spaces for men. Even tukikutana hapa, beyond this conversation we are having today, would we be able to even ask, manze unaendeleaje? You know, that question is very important. But sasa shida ni tumetrainiwa kunyamazia vitu zetu. Kama wanaume, unasema nitaisolve tu. But kama tungeweza kujua ya kwamba, kama men, one of the easiest way is even just speaking out to our own. Shida ni tukikutana focus yetu ni vitu zingine tofauti. And that's why mental health ya wanaume ina deteriorate every other day. Because wow, unlike women, they don't speak out. When they have issues, they just bottle them up to the point that inafikia mahali mse sasa na resort kwa other measures zenye hazimsaidii. But kama tungekuanga mimi na Roba najua after hapa tunaweza kaa na tuulizane ni aje, by the home kuko aje, mama ako aje, familia iko, you know, if we encourage those kind of conversation, there is a lot of hope for the man. Because pressures zenye tuko nazo, hey manze, you're expected to do this, everywhere ni expectations, na saa zingine hauwezi. But tukikaa tusapotiane venye the ladies on the other hand do, I think tunaweza tukasaidiana, tunaweza inuana kama society ya wanaume.
Nikirejea kwako tena, maybe utakuwa unatuambia when the boy child or the father is being frustrated, where and what he opt to do, maybe to solve the issues that ambazo zinamsumbua kihisia. Kuna French, there's a popular saying in French inasema kwamba modorome ne kienyoki ya gai. It's a French word.
Yeah.
So that talk about the superior inferiority, and you listen to most of those ladies ambao wamefikisha na umri wa kuolewa, hawajaolewa. Good number of them they will tell you kwamba I have seen guy, but the problem ni kwamba it's like he is not prepared, both physically and psychologically prepared in terms of one, economical issues zinachangia pale. So what can we do to overcome these issues of superior inferiority?
I think this is a challenge.
First of all, do you know that popular saying?
Yes. Oh. I think this is a challenge.
But in a mezo.
Yeah. This is a challenge to all of us, and I believe it's a challenge in the churches, it's a challenge in the mosques, it's a challenge in our religious circles as well. I think nurturing, as I said, should happen at all levels. When we have these young boys, we nurture them. When we have these young guys in high schools, we nurture them. Still, when they're in the universities and the campuses and the colleges, we nurture them because it's preparing them to fatherhood or marriage life. So if you don't do that, that's why we have the girls or the women, because them in their circles, they are trained, they talk about these things, and they know what they want. Still, with the boys' clubs, we don't talk about these things, as Makumi has said. We don't ask each other, how are you faring on? How is life financially, socially? How are you doing? How are you faring on? And if you don't do that, that's where we find men are in a position not to express themselves socially, and that's the biggest hiccup we are finding.
So before we come to economically, the first,
it's a social thing. Internally, they are not able to express themselves, or they tell you, I have this girl, I'm thinking of marrying her, but my pocket is not okay. How can you advise me about this? So by the time they are not doing that, no one will understand the challenges they are going through. And that's why I came back and said, can we create safe spaces so that we are able to nurture them? And I'll go back to what I said before. We have successful men in this nation. Majority of the MPs in our 12th house are men. Majority of the leaders in these nations, in whichever circle, the religious circles, whatever circle we have, the business circles, are men. And I think they are the ones who are failing us in terms of leadership and giving guidance to the young men out there. We need to have clubs where men can be vulnerable and express themselves. And I think as an organization, we are trying to create a solution where we can approach, or where we can have these spaces for these young men. Because we have programs for the high schoolers, for the boys in the primary schools, and we're able to talk to them, and they tell us the challenges they have. If you look at the statistics currently in terms of suicide cases, majority are not women, they are men. Yeah, and that one can really tell you the challenges.
I remember there is a certain organization, I think if not 2019, 2020 ilikuwa imeonyesha waume wangapi wanapoteza maisha yao kutokana na road accident, kugongwa na gari akivuka barabara. But you find that as compared to the women, very few maybe wanapoteza maisha yao sababu ya such issues as the way you are confirming. Sorry to cut you short.
It's okay. Yeah, so it's what is building up to the mental challenges that men are going through. When they close themselves up, they need to bring themselves to a vulnerable point so that they can be able to get help. Yeah, at all stages. Yeah.
Okay, now. Nikirejea kwako tutakuwa tuna ili pia muweze kutuambia what you does and what are you doing, or maybe to make sure at least you have tried to bring harmony in both God and Boychild. Nimetakuja kutuambia but tutakuwa tunaangalia you can't separate fathering and leadership. So kwa hivyo tutakuwa tunaangalia if you look our parliament and the members of those who are vying the different position in the coming general election, and even as compared to the outgoing parliament, you find that the voice of men should be heard, but it's only been heard within the code of the parliament, but outside there is nowhere to hear the voice of men. Nilikuwa nimekuuliza wakati huyu wa baba ama huyu kijana amevurugwa na kila pande, kiuchumi, kihisia, nyumbani hapatiwi amani, society inamuona kama mzee duni, mzee boy so huwa anaopt kupotelea wapi ama kuenda kutafuta solace zake wapi?
Sasa hapo ndio nafikiri inafikanga situation ambapo wanaume ana resort to overindulgence, and it can be overindulgence of different forms. But more often than not, it's overindulgence ya zile vitu zenye hazimsaidi in an effort to try and forget. Because ukiangalia kwa clubs out there, who are the majority of the persons who are there? Na sina shida na mtu anakunywa because mtu uchagua raha yake. But then if it will happen in a point that mtu ana resort every other day, Monday to Friday, mimi ninaenda huko. Unajua sasa what is there, the issue is, and it's a fallacy because it's not necessarily the reality, is that unasahau hiyo shida, but you can only forget for so long. Reality is, in the morning ukiamka, you wouldn't have changed anything. In any case, you would have added another problem, hangover. No, kama ni kukunywa, So, nafikiri mwanaume, it's time we get to realize that all these pressures of life will come. All these issues we'll face them as a society and as men. But the best way, and we cannot overemphasize, na Roba nimeisema ni kuwa, wacha to encourage those meaningful conversations where openly you can speak about what you're going through and seek help. Shida ni, unaona ni kama, na ni venye nilisema ni socialization. Tumeriziwa in a way ya kujua kwamba ni mimi nafaa kusolve issues zangu. But truth is, there is no big difference between us and the women who go seeking out for help, who even go for counseling. I think it's time we, as a man, we get to know that it is okay to even ask questions. It's okay to seek help, rather than trying to solve, and you are even creating more problems in the process of seeking solution. So kama tunaweza shirikiana, ikuwe tu boys club, haitakuwa tu ni kudiscuss Chelsea na Manchester, haitakuwa ni kudiscuss Ruto na Raila, haitakuwa ni kudiscuss akina Wajakoya. We can now come in and start discussing our lives.
Now, who should start this conversation?
I think we are the ones. Ni sisi wenyewe ndio inafaa tuanzishe. To realize ya kwamba first, it's okay. Unajua shida inakujanga wakati unaona nikikuja kwako Ivan, I'll look weak if I tell you, by the way, jana nimekuwa na challenge home. Nimenyoroshwa. You know, wanaume wanatoangwa, by the way, Ivan. Out here ni vile hawaongei. Wanaume wananyoroshwa in silence. It's just that those statistics, we may never get them in totality, because only a few go even to a police station. Because hata ukienda kwa police station, I remember when I was in campus, my attachment ilifanya in a police station. And one time, a man came to report. Wanaume wenzake ndio wanamwambia, unapigwa na wewe ni mwanaume, you know. Do you think that man will ever go out there and speak again about kunyoroshwa kwake? Kama ameenda kuseek help, amekuwa victimized. Like mwanaume unachapwa aje? You know, there's a way a society expects us to behave, and it's not always realistic. So as men, let's get to a place where mimi najua Roba nikigo through something, naweza come na openly nikwambie ni aje, kuna venye hapa na hapa kuendi vizuri. Eva ni aje, napitia hii na hii, what do you think nafaa kufanya? Rather than nikuje nikwambie ni aje, can we have one for the road? Fine, we will have one for the road. But I'll still go back to the same issues zenye zimenisumbua. So, wacha to encourage, hata sisi wenyewe amongst our circles, let's initiate those conversations where we can talk about the issues affecting us, and together tutafute help. Wacha to create, hata kama si kwa salon venye the ladies would do. You ask yourself, why do ladies necessarily stay 2-3 hours in a salon? Do you think ni nywele pekee wanatengenezwa? Lini inafanyanga our ladies wakue maybe even in a salon wanakaa for 2-3 hours. Do you think ni nywele pekee? I think at those points, and so I hear, they have those, sijawahi enda, but nasikianga huko ndio wanaongea zile issues zenye wana go through, you know. So na sisi tukienda kwa kinyozi, ni uliona jana Wajakoya alikuwa Roysambu. Uliona jana
within 15 minutes imemalizika.
We are done. Uoshwe umalize uishie.
Maybe ningetaka watu kilajia kwako utakuwa tuambia at a policy level. Na tukao tunaangalia now that we have enough members who could come up with a good policies toward men. Katika bunge limepita na bunge mengine ambayo yamepita. Now, does it mean that now we can substitute men at a policy making, and then tuweke kina dada tuone kana kwamba wao watasaidia waume? Tukuje kwangu, tulikuwa tumesemea kwamba tukije kwako utakuwa unatuambia as an organization what are the program you are running at least to make sure mweza kuinua kijana ambaye ako pale chini. Karibu.
As an organization, that is Bethel Network, we are creating spaces for these young men so that they're able to beware about themselves. And it's a program we are running. We are calling it the Shift program. It's geared towards elevating or enhancing the quality of life for the boys. And we are targeting the high schoolers so that we're able to bridge that gap, so that by the time they are crossing over to the universities and the colleges, they're able to know themselves, they have good confidence levels, they have self-esteem, and we're also trying to get on board partners who can be able to prepare them as they go to college life, what is expected of them as young men. So we are trying to work with partners so that we can have a better society than what we have.
Maybe tell us one of the program, and okay, you have one of the challenges that you are facing as an organization, and then the progress story, or the positive story that you have initiated this and this and this, and you have working on maybe and have some good result on it.
Yeah.
But let's start with the challenges that you are facing.
Programmatically, as an organization, the biggest challenge we are getting is funding. Because you can imagine, to reach as many as we're able to, we are anticipating to reach.
In how many counties maybe you have spread?
We are spread across 22 counties currently with the current Always Keeping Girls in School, where we are also leveraging on the same counties to get the boys program. So the biggest challenge is to get a dignity pack for the boys. We already have a dignity pack for the girls, which is always sanitary pads, panties and booklets, which is literature to guide them and help the girls. But for the boys, we already have literature for them. But the biggest challenge is to get a dignity pack, be it a boxer, be it anything else that will be a good gift for the boys. That's the biggest challenge we are having. So we are calling upon partners and any well-wisher who can come on board and help us drive the voice of the boy child so that we can have a better society as we move. My call into all spheres of the society is for us to create safe spaces where the boy can be vulnerable and get help. Be it in churches, can we have those boys clubs in the churches so that the men can become vulnerable? Be it in the mosques, can we have those vulnerable spaces for the boys so that they can be able to express themselves, so that the issue of radicalization can go down and we see the value of men going back to where it was, so that fatherhood and responsibility for the men goes back to where it was initially. So as a society as a whole, even in the primary schools, can we have those safe spaces for the boys so that we can have a stable and a better society for our nation? So that's my call to the whole nation, that we create spaces for all our boys so that when we have challenges, we don't victimize them. Mental issues are there, and let's not peg all our challenges on mental health, but let's be real. Let's understand the challenges that the boys are facing so that we're able to bring them to speed and help them so that they can be better men as we move on.
Okay, tukirejea kwako tutakuwa utanua tupatie your part in short. No, karibu tena Gideon, tulikuwa tumesema kwamba at a policy level we had have enough more than men, more than youthful parliamentarians. Even if you look the president in his cabinet, you find there are so many cars, permanent secretaries who are young, but what have they done and what do you think that we should do at a policy level?
I think we just need to implement with what is on paper, because policies are there, guidelines are there on how both genders should benefit from the support of the government, and even more needs to be done to have a balanced society, but let it not remain on paper. I think there is a need for more civic education, there is need for more involvement of these people coming even to the society, to the ground, and looking at the issues affecting, for instance, the boy child in this case. What are the issues affecting this boy child down here? What can we do about it? What does the policy say about it? And what ought to be done? The challenge is good policies, good guidelines. Everything is nice, but it remains just somewhere in a file. Kwa ofisi ya moja wao inabaki tu hapo. Haikuji huku chini kwa ground. But if you can move beyond the good writings and everything and now come down here, when is the last time we had sijui ya minister ametoka, minister wa education ametoka, amekuja sasa amesema leo nakuja kuongea na Boychild for instance, ama unasikia MP fulani amesema leo nakuja kwa hii shule na nakuja specifically to encourage the Boychild because hata mimi nilikuwa boy siku moja niliongeleshwa They rarely do that. When they come, they want to come and say nilijenga class fulani, nilifanya nini, but they don't really focus on what really matters. And I don't have anything wrong against the politicians, but if you are in an office of influence, use that influence to impact positively in the lives of those people who elected you and those people who are looking up on you. So if you can go beyond just setting up good policies and now even having those mentorship sessions, I think that would be great. And I know the government has money, but wacha pesa tu isikuwe ni ya miradi zingine zenye they are for selfish gains of those who are in power. Can we start initiatives that will ensure? For instance, the program Robert is talking about, we've really been seriously looking for funding to just go and talk to those boys in the schools. Right now we are running a campaign, boxers, one boxer for one African boy child. It's a struggle to even get people to come and do that. You're even approaching them, but someone, I think, saizi focus yao ni kama nitareelectiwa, kama nitafanya kitu fulani. And it is okay to get re-elected and even go back to the office. But question is, what have you done for the last 5 years? And what will you do for the next that you want us to elect you? Would you say that you are a proud member of parliament because all my boys in my constituency are empowered? All the people in my county wako sawa? Realistically, maybe not everyone, but what efforts have you made, at least zenye zime make a change, na zenye zinaweza mtu anaweza angalia back na aseme enyewe juu ya mbunge wetu, mimi kama Gideon niliweza kujua hii na hii. The same way nasema about say my mentor Joe, or even our boss Mary who keeps on encouraging us. Can someone now stand and say, mimi kama nani, juu ya mbunge wetu niko mahali niko? You know, those are the questions that our leaders need to ask themselves. It's not about the show. It's not about driving in big cars. It's about the real impact that you cause in the community.
Okay, your parting shot, please.
My parting shot is that right now we are doing something at Bethel to empower vijana. I don't know if I can ask for that support here. Tunasema one boxer for one African boy child. We have a pay bill yenye tuna raise hiyo boxers nayo. Na tunasema at 250 bob, you are able to give an African boy a boxer. And we are targeting about 12,000 boys. So me ninge request to msemo yote mwenye anaweza support your initiative, I support.
Your parting shot?
My parting shot would be, as a nation, let's create safe spaces for the boy, for the men, to be vulnerable so that we get a better society as we move on. Yeah.
Okay, naam. Nataka niwashukuru sana kwa kutenga muda wenu. Nimejaribu sana tuweze kuangazia swala la African Child, but muda wetu umekataa. I hope next time, watasema there's always next time. So
Sure.
I hope next time we'll have more chance maybe to share about the African Child. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niwashukuru sana kwa kutenga muda wenu. Mwenyezi Mungu awalinde na waonekanie kwa kazi ambayo mnafanya pale kuwakumbuka wagume kule mitaani.
Asante, nashukuru.
Imekuwa hali na shwari kufunga ukurasa wa kwanza wa GBS TV Jumatatu. Mimi naitwa Ivan Kibe. Tuingia ukurasa wa pili wa mazungumzo yetu, ambapo sasa tunaingia kaunti ya Kiambu, ambapo tunajiunga na mwaniaji kiti cha useneti. Yes, sorry. Okay. Mwelekezi wangu ananiambia kwamba tunakomea hapo. Mimi naitwa Ivan Kibe.